All right, we're on episode 2.
Episode 2.
I'm just going to go in.
Episode 2. Episode 2.
All right, that's our intro clip.
Hi.
Hi guys, welcome to episode 2 of Cracking the Codex for the Chaos Space Marines. This week we are looking at the Soulforged Warpack. That is the correct name, isn't it, John?
Warpack.
Warpack, that's what I said, and you can't prove any different. This is your Demon Engines detachment with a little bit of extra spice, because you can take your normal vehicles and make them Demon Engines for the low price of 1 command point per turn per unit. So, how are you feeling about this one?
I just can't wait to see all these lists where they're obviously clearly going to take Vashtor and 3 Warpsmiths. It's going to be great.
Not in our list. Little peek behind the curtain here, by the way, guys. We sometimes record these together ahead of time. We also sometimes know that rules changes are coming and points changes. So we haven't actually written a list together. Also, John is a very busy man and is going... Where is it you're going to?
A small event called the Age of Sigmar Worlds.
Yeah, so you probably haven't heard of it. Is going to be doing some content stuff there, so might not be here for the list part of the video. If that's the case, I can only apologize. However, moving on. We've got some rules, John. We got some rules.
Do we? All right.
Yeah.
I better change the scene then, because consummate professional.
It's all right. I'll fix it in post. So, if you are a CSM player, you have Dark Pacts. And Dark Pacts are good in general, but what if you were running things that really got the value of lethal or sustained hits? Well, you'd be pretty happy about it. So, the way it works, and we talked about it this last episode, they've changed it, so now you take the leadership test before you do any shooting. So, in this case, it is... if you lose enough wounds to go below bracket or to die, you just don't get to shoot, or you shoot worse. However, you're not going to forget about the rule, which is an improvement. You still get the rule if you fail the test. So if you pass the test, you just get the lethal or sustained hits. If you fail the test, you get that, but you also take D3 mortal wounds. Great rule. Really, really good. And there are lots of targets that you can put that on that I'm really excited to put in the list. But what do you get if you're specifically Soulforged Pack?
You get
a debt to the Soulforge, which is not probably what you want. But the way that this works is you take your Dark Pacts and you can choose to subtract 1 from that roll. Each time you do, you get +1 to wound if you're making range attacks, and if you're in melee, you get +2 attacks. So that is quite spicy, and that is the attacks characteristic of melee weapons. So if you, for example, had extra attacks on a Demon Engine unit, which I'm not 100% sure if you can have, because I think the Lord Discordant is still a monster, if I'm correct in thinking that. But if you did have any extra attacks, that would benefit from the additional attacks as well.
It's the Mauler Fiend that my brain went straight to there.
Oh, yeah, no, you're probably right. The
laser
Mechatendrils.
tendrils.
Laser tendrils.
Boom.
Very nice. So you not only get extra big attacks, you get extra small attacks on your Mauler Fiend, which realistically is where you're going to be using this in melee. So that's quite nice. But that's not all you get. You do get a handful of enhancements to choose from. And I've got to say, these ones, they're pretty good.
Yeah, first one, another beautiful Chaos name. It's an Invigorated Mechatendrils. So
I'm thinking Doc Ock.
So it's a Warpsmith, and he's just got 4 Mechatendrils instead of 3. But this one means that he can walk on his Mechatendrils an extra 4 inches.
You're not excited enough about this. This Warpsmith is Doc Ock. He's going fast.
Yeah.
Anyway, he gets an extra 4 inches of movement.
Great if he's wanting to babysit a Dark Pacting horrendous Demon Engine that's sitting there going, I'm just going to keep going forward because eventually I'm going to get up in their face and shoot them in their face, and he's having to run behind, going, "I'm going to repair you," and it's just he has to catch up, right?
Not only repair, but they hand out +1/+2 hit for
Oh
whichever
no!
unit they.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
So it's this is probably the one out of the 3 that you're taking that you might cut, because spoiler, 2 other ones are very good as well. But
Yeah.
you're very happy to have this and make it easy for you to keep up with those really fast demon engines if you want to do so and get really aggressive with them.
The next one is the tempting addendum, which is Heretic Astarte only. Each time the Heretic Astarte's demon vehicle unit from your army invokes a contract, which is while within 3 inches of the bearer, if it suffers 1 or more mortal wounds as a result of that Dark Pact, add 1 to the number of mortal wounds it suffers. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in that unit makes an attack, it can re-roll the hit roll. So this is really cool because it's showing the layers of the pacts, and I think thematically, really cool, but you do get a buff.
Well, this must be terrible, John, because it makes you take more wounds if you, checks notes, fail a leadership test. This is so good. This is so good.
Test at a -1, though.
Oh, my apologies. If only that mattered. So you will kill yourself a little bit faster, but you will kill your opponent a lot faster. Yes, your demon engines can be theoretically hitting on 2s. That's fine, because, the Warpsmiths. However, what if you were doing that and getting lethal and sustained hits and rerolling all of your hits, and it's in a bubble? 3 inches doesn't sound like a lot. Turns out, Space Marine players have been playing that way for years. All you do is you put all of your models around one infantry character.
Really difficult to play like that.
It's not. You just walk forwards. Hey, even Marine players can do it, so it must be good. Moving on before we alienate another part of our audience, what do we got next?
Forge's Blessing. So this is Heretic Astartes only. In your command phase, select 1 friendly Heretic Astartes vehicle unit within 12 inches of the bearer. Until the start of your next command phase, that unit has a Feel No Pain 6+ ability.
That is pretty decent. So the downside is it's pick 1 and it's a 6-up. That's... If it was an aura of 6-up or pick 1 of 5-up, I'd be a lot more excited about it. I think you still take it. This is really nice because it protects you against the mortal wounds you're going to do to yourself. Not a huge amount, but, taking the edge off that. And a Feel No Pain math-wise is multiplicative. So because the wounds that you prevent, you get to take saves on again, you end up with more saved wounds than you think you would. So I like it. It's also really flexible. It's a 12-inch range ability to put out there. Sorry, did I confuse you with maths?
He said math stuff, guys. I'm much of a vibes kind of guy. Will it hit? No. Right, yeah. Moving on.
The vibes are good with this one, so it's okay.
Soul Harvester. So again, Heretic Astartes only. While the bearer is on the battlefield, each time an enemy unit within 12 inches of the bearer is destroyed, roll a d6. On a 5-up, you get a CP.
So we talked about this one 30 minutes ago, which, for us it was 30 minutes, but for you it was a week. So sorry about that, those of you without a time machine. This rule, I think they write the CP generation rules without remembering that you are capped at 1 per turn. It doesn't make sense to me otherwise. This is a cool rule if you can generate an uncapped amount and you're just like, how much slaughter can how many resources can my slaughter bring? And you sort of drain it in. Otherwise, it's just crap.
Or whoever wrote this really doesn't like playing tactical, but also really likes to have extra CP. Occasionally.
Yeah, occasionally is the word.
I don't know. Because it's not a 4-up. I found the Grot one where it's a 4-up can be a whole game of 5 turns, you get the extra one, or you get it once if you're lucky.
Yeah, but if you're playing Grots, you're probably playing multiple units and probably putting them on multiple objectives. So even then, it's, far more consistent.
Yeah. Speaking of consistency, stratagems.
They are something that every book consistently has. I'm glad you brought that up.
6 of smart.
All right.
Should we start with the first one?
Absolutely.
It's a battle tactic. That may matter. That may not matter. We'll find out when this video goes live. It's probably something quite impactful now. We don't know. So, Desperate Pledge is in your shooting phase or fight phase. 1 demon vehicle from your army that has been selected to shoot or fight this phase. Until the end of the phase, if your unit invokes a contract, each time they make an attack, improve the armor penetration by 1.
I read this and went, why have they got why have they changed the name for the same rule? Thinking it was Armor of Contempt, but it's the opposite. It's just +1 AP outgoing for a CP, which is really nice.
The classic Uno flip happened. There you go.
Yeah, no you. I really like this on Venom Crawlers. Venom Crawlers, cheap as chips, quite fast, quite punchy, quite a lot of AP1 in there. Getting that to AP2, not too shabby. I like them in Renegade Raiders, but there's so many things that are better in Renegade Raiders that you just take instead, looking at you Warp Talons. But there's not that many demon engines, so just having Venom Crawlers and having this strat to really turn them on, I think is great. I love it. And
they're a nice smaller footprint, so they give you a different solution to giving you your demon vehicle keyword stuff. So.
And they want to kill stuff, because if they kill stuff, they get more attacks. It's great.
Great. So what you're saying is there's probably going to be a glut of souls.
Hey.
So this one is 1 CP in the fight phase. One of your demon vehicles from your army, excluding Titanic, that has not been selected to fight this phase. Until the end of the phase, if you invoke a contract, each time it makes an attack that destroys an enemy model, roll a d6. On a 5, you regain 1 lost wound after all of its attacks have been resolved. It is capped at 6, though.
I'm so sad this excludes Titanic, because I think this is a detachment that really likes the Lord of Skulls, and let's be honest with each other, there's not that many demon engines outside of the Lord of Skulls. So
I'm just imagining they must have tested it and it was literally a Lord of Skulls Pac-Man going...
I think that's the case, yeah. I think this might be too good on... I wouldn't have minded seeing this going up to 2 CP for a Titanic, but it's fine. It's not a problem. It's still okay on other things. It depends how much you can kill. That's really what it comes down to, so... Sometimes you'll use it because you need it. That's what it is.
Yep. Next one is a Demonic Possession. So this is 1 CP, your command phase.
Yep.
1 vehicle unit from your army, excluding demon units. So this is a non-demon vehicle unit, just to confuse things. Until the end of the battle, that unit has the demon keyword.
Yes. Perfect. That's what it is. And the first time I read it, I thought it was until the turn, and I just sort of skim read it, and I was like, oh, so you turn it on for turn? That's fine. But yeah, no, you could theoretically get 5 non-demon vehicles becoming demon engines. Obviously, you shouldn't do that, because turn 5, you'd have had a model that wouldn't have had any buffs for 4 turns. But taking 1 or 2 non-demon engines that you want to become demon engines to get buffs, I think is quite solid. Couple of Predator Destructors, that seems to be like the obvious one to me. Vindicators fit that role as well, pretty well. Anything else that you've got sort of like burning at the front of your mind? I think those are the 2 obvious ones.
All I can think of is them, and them kind of running forward angrily like demonic Pac-Man now. Apparently that's what my brain's gone to now.
Beep, beep.
Yeah, it's great. So speaking of unstoppable rampages, next one is your movement phase or your charge phase.
You're on form today.
1 Heretic Astartes unit from your army that's not been selected to move or charge. It can move every time it makes a normal advance or charge move. It can move horizontally through terrain as if it was not there.
Pay a CP, move through walls.
Yeah.
You can't move through models, is the problem. Obviously, vehicles can move through non-vehicles as long as they're your allies, but you can't move through enemy models the way that the Knights of Shade can for Chaos Knights. So,
but
this is fine.
CP.
Yeah, I think so. What's really nice about this is it opens up fire lanes that your opponent might not be used to having to deal with. So, for example, on UKTC, you can deploy in your front L, like right in the corner, tuck in as much as possible, and then you can yeet forwards, your full movement, and suddenly you've got a big swathe of board that your opponent wasn't necessarily expecting you to be able to see. I'm not saying that you should lie to your opponent about, fire zones, but if you put down your tank last...
And even on the flip of it, where it's defensively deployed and it looks like it's not going to get a firing lane for a couple of turns because you've put it so far back. If it then just goes, I'm just going straight through these cultists and through this wall, and then it's hitting them, it's a bit of a surprise.
Yeah, absolutely. Or if you deploy a Helldrake behind a wall, you can move it.
Ed.
Helldrakes are units that still exist.
Stop crying, Ed. I can see you're crying inside.
I've never had a Helldrake. I didn't want to have to paint the gold trim. It's That's fine. Yeah, exactly. But speaking of Predator Pursuits,
oh god. So, Predatory Pursuit is for a CP in your opponent's movement phase after an enemy unit has ended a normal, advance, or fallback move. One Heretic Astartes unit from your army, vehicle unit, that is within 9 inches. It triggers a reactive 6-inch move, but it has to end as close as possible.
This is a weird rule. Like this is bizarre, honestly.
Tank Blood Surge.
Yeah. Although it's a normal move, right? So you can't get into combat.
Yeah. But it's not bad, though. It means you're going to be going, this Vindicator is right here, and this shell is going straight through your head that's just over an inch away.
Yeah.
Don't worry, it's fine.
Yeah, I think if you want to get super aggressive with the Mauler Fiends, this is nice. Yeah. Or you can potentially use it. If your opponent is aware of it and is playing around it, it's a rule that doesn't get you done, like doesn't get too much done. But if they're not, then you can use it to get onto objectives potentially, to sort of screen out objectives if they move a unit forwards and they're planning on charging onto it, and you go, I'm just going to move up to the edge of it. I think there's play to be done with it.
Yeah, because a lot of the vehicles have good OC numbers.
Yeah.
So if they're just booping on 5 OC1 models onto an objective to steal it off you, being able to tow a demon engine onto it, you suddenly go, haha, no. That's frustrating, especially if they've not got the resources to then kind of react again, which is really and I think it's neat.
But the one thing that does actually excite me a little bit about this is, you know what is a Heretic Astartes vehicle? It's a Lord of Skulls. Now, a Lord of Skulls getting a little bit further forwards, that is quite interesting.
The pain train. Choo choo.
There's only one speed.
Go.
Exactly. And Waka Waka, it's Feed and Frenzy. What have we got up next?
So this one is your opponent's movement phase. When an enemy unit, excluding monsters and vehicles, is selected to fall back, one of your Astartes demon vehicles, Heretic Astartes demon vehicles, that was within engagement range of that enemy unit, till the end of the phase, each time that an enemy unit, excluding monsters and vehicles, that is within engagement range of that unit falls back, all models in that unit must take a desperate escape test, and if that unit is battle shocked, it's at a -1. So it forces desperate escape tests, even if they're not blocked in, and if they're battle shocked, it's at -1.
Yeah, you absolutely love this one. This is one of your favorite things to do.
I love it, especially if it's already built in with a -1. I'll cope for this lesser version because it's only 1 CP. It's not expensive.
It's all right. Your enemies are probably battle shocked anyway, right? Yeah. Maybe not like in the rules wise, but just, full Blitzkrieg Panzer Rush when you've just driven all of your vehicles towards them. They're probably pretty shocked.
Yeah, it's a shame we don't have whirlwinds for Chaos Space Marines anymore.
You need to get out of the pocket of big whirlwind. we've had words about this. All right, we are back through the power of editing and magic. I'm sure you couldn't tell any difference. I've got shorter hair. John's got longer hair. I think we're both wearing different clothes. But that's because we've had to test some lists. And things have changed for CSM. There have been points changes. I will say that this detachment hasn't had too drastic of a change. I think a lot of the stuff that you were taking hasn't been hit. The only real thing that's been hit is the Venom Crawler, I think, realistically. Yeah. But
sad.
Yeah, I think it's still fine at 120. We haven't got it in here because we went with a different approach. So let's have a quick run through of the list. So top to bottom, we've got 2 Rhinos. 2 Rhinos is just a good starting point for a CSM list. You can play your chaff around it. They hold Legionnaires and Chaos Lords, who are pretty good. Speaking of, we've got 3 squads of Chaos Lords with Legionnaires. All of them have, all the upgrades. Well, no, there's 3. There's one down at the bottom. Oh, yes, sorry. There's 2 Chaos Lords with Legionnaires, and then 1 with Chosen. We'll get to that. So the 2 with Legionnaires got all the upgrades you'd expect. Demon Hammer, the Reaper Chain Cannon, so you can shoot out the top, the heavy melee weapon, and the Power Fist in the squad as well, or whatever it is the champion has. Yeah. Just all of the Strength 8 AP2 attacks, basically. Then moving on, there's a couple of squads of cultists, another Chaos Lord with 5 chosen. That unlocks the ability to advance and charge out of a rhino, which is obviously very good. There's no other way to advance and charge in this detachment. 3 Chaos Bikers, just cheap, good for mission play. Triple Mauler Fiend. Mauler Fiends are cheap and punchy in this detachment. 8 attacks at strength 14, I think it is absolutely no laughing matter. And you can spend a CP to move them through terrain. Not through enemy models, but moving through terrain does allow you to get around the board a lot faster than you might normally do with such a big base.
Yeah.
Then we've also got a couple of Predator Destructors. The game plan here is to make them into Demon Engines on turn 1 and turn 2. Get that +1 to wound, makes it so that that's a really versatile all-round gun. Sure, the AP is not amazing if you're shooting it into armor, but you'll be dropping it to, say, a 4-up if they're not in cover, or you can spend a CP to give it an extra pip of AP as you need. 2 Lance Cannons are good as well. Jobs are good in there. And then triple War Dog Carnivore. This is a violence list. We got triple Mauler Fiend. We looked and we're like, what else do we want to put in? We played around with some Lord of Skulls, which I think is genuinely interesting. And then we just went, but what if we just went for more cheap hulls that hit way harder than they should on paper? Carnivores. So that's the conceit of the list. You've got 6 things that run towards you and hit you real hard. And then you've got the Chaos Lords in rhinos that hit you real hard. Then we've got some Predator Destructors so that you have to play honest. I like it. How do you feel about this one, John?
I don't like the idea of being cuddled by this. And that probably means it's a good thing. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And with the Pariah Nexus mission packs, there are some deployment zones that are a little close where they might have been a little further away before. So definitely something to play around with when you've got much shorter deployment zones, or much shorter gaps between the deployment zones, I should say. Any thoughts on this one before we wrap up?
I think it needs more Felgor.
More Felgor. Yeah, you did say that you wanted more Felgor.
But you can't justify it. It's really sad. They're such cool models, but never mind.
Yeah. You could just play Beastman in the old world. That would be my... I saw the opportunity. So we should probably wrap up there before I get too sidetracked. Thanks for watching. It's been a blast playing around with CSM. I've been playing around a lot with the Pact Bound, so we'll probably get around to that one at some point as well. But we've got some new books coming up. What do you want to see the most? Let us know in the comments. We have something in mind, but if there's an overwhelming majority of, a big cry out for something special, we can definitely have a look at that one. We'll see you next week. Subscribe.